Microphone check, 1, 2, what is this? It's the 5'7" assassin in the podcast business. I am your host, Rohan Patra, the rap music plug at your service. The Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV is the remedy to the I don't have anything good to listen to problem. Through in-depth album and song reviews, as well as artist interviews and general rap commentary sprinkled in between on all of what the mainstream and underground rap scenes have to offer, this is your one-stop shop to knowing what to add to your queue, play next, or pop into your record player. Welcome to the show. What is up, family? I am here today to talk about an album that I hope brightens everybody's mood because I think the world is in much need of some smiles, some happiness, and some just plain old fun. So today I'm here to talk about Koncept JackSon and Ohbliv's Jet Magazine 2021 reissue. So Koncept JackSon is part of the Mutant Academy Collective, a collective that houses some of the most forward-thinking artists in the underground, hailing from Virginia. You may be familiar with artists like Fly Anakin, Henny Low, Big Kahuna OG, and producers like Ohbliv, who is the other partner in crime here on this album. Koncept is an artist that I haven't listened to in too much depth as a solo artist. I've definitely enjoyed the doses of him that I have received, though, in various features over the years, as well as his collab album with Fly Anakin in 2017 that I thought was pretty nice. Ohbliv, on the other hand, the producer, is someone I am much more familiar with, having thoroughly enjoyed his left field sampling beats that can mold itself seemingly into any kind of mood depending on the artist. So when I heard of this album, I was excited to see what Koncept was going to do over a full-length project with a producer the caliber of Ohbliv that I know would deliver no matter what. But then, when I saw that absolutely gorgeous Jet Magazine spoofing album cover, along with the text on the cover that read marriage music mixed with important social issues, I was sold. Starting with the production, Ohbliv successfully created a tapestry of the brightest and most gorgeous old-school soul and funk samples imaginable. The intricacies in these dense productions are so impressive, with so much romantic emotion coming from the instrumentals alone, that really creates a nice colorful palette of sounds. And what's even more special about these beats is the tempo and rhythms. These aren't the type of productions that just any rapper could rap over. There is often not a traditional pocket to these beats. Only a special kind of MC could manage to not get lost in these beats. But luckily for us, these beats were tailor-made for a rapper like Koncept JackSon, as his rapid-fire flow is equally as relentless as these beats, with an almost dizzying display of rapping being put forward on every single track. Koncept spits game about women as you'd expect in an album about marriage music, and impresses with nice wordplay crammed into seemingly impossible flows. It may not be as easy to decipher as other artists, but you will consistently find some clever turns of phrases all throughout Koncept's verses. However, no individual performance from either of these guys is the key. It's the synergy between JackSon and Ohbliv that makes this album so special, sometimes matching each other in intensity and sometimes contrasting each other in a really nice way. When we look into the lyrical content, as I mentioned before, the album cover suggests that this album is marriage music mixed in with important social issues. However, that second part about social issues is rarely touched, which would have been, yes, a nice icing on the cake to this album to see him bring these issues more to the forefront in some way. Although it's not a huge deal to not cover these topics in any sort of depth, it though is a bit strange to put that on the cover. I just found it kind of confusing. He does incorporate some street rap content that does touch on some more serious topics, but the majority of this album is very much so about the pretty brown skinned ladies in the world and general romance, which honestly still really works because on such a short album, trying to cover too many different things can lead to a spreading yourself too thin kind of situation. Instead, the laser focus on this romantic vibe in the production and in the lyrics makes this album a extremely cohesive listen, with no lulls at all in the track list. So yes, the lyrical content on this album isn't breaking new ground or saying anything incredibly weighty or emotionally impactful, but it doesn't try to, and most importantly, doesn't have to, because it consistently hits the mark at what it's trying to communicate in this lane. And speaking as a heterosexual male, this album really does put you in a headspace where you're fantasizing about women, but not in a gross, disrespectful kind of way. Because yeah, while some of the lyrics are sexually explicit for sure, the production is so goddamn wholesome and warm that the feeling I get from this album is more romance versus exploitative or sleazy. Diving deeper into the production now, Ohbliv really did his thing. There are too many great musical moments here to mention in full, but I will highlight some of my favorites. Forever Yours has such a nice, bright loop of sound and this soulful vocal sample that I really liked. Can It Be has this ridiculously addictive groove, and Turning You On's amazing string samples that add such a nice level of drama with an amazingly ear-grabbing vocal sample along with a perfect, and I mean perfect bass line that comes in alongside the strings in the middle to end of this track that is just so amazing. I can't speak highly enough about this track and this production. The production quality being so good and so attention-grabbing, Jackson really had to do a lot to command your attention or risk being an afterthought on his album. But he fits right at home on these beats, sometimes slowing it down by his standards, of course, or taking his flow into hyperdrive to match the busyness and fast tempo of these instrumentals. Koncept JackSon and Ohbliv were truly a perfect pairing, absolutely hitting the mark in what they were trying to accomplish, and show that an album doesn't need to touch on 50 different things and have to have such a strong variety to be great. Because this duo stayed in this romantic lane, adding enough slight changes of paces here and there to the production and the rapping delivery that added a necessary ebb and flow to keep the album from not being too one note or stagnant. The results of this collaboration was absolutely fantastic. It's a romance-filled project with no true missteps or out-of-place moments to speak of. The Jet Magazine 2021 reissue is a classic better than the sum of its parts kind of album, because it's not meant to be listened to as standalone tracks. From start to finish, this album takes you on a 24-minute, jam-packed, sunshine-filled ride with the top down. A supremely enjoyable album that puts me in such a good mood. And in times like this, I really appreciate it. This album is just so fun. So my overall verdict for this album is an 8 on 10. I couldn't have asked for a better pick-me-up than this album. It's an album that I've played so many times already, and one of those few albums that I listen to front to back and then immediately want to go press play again and listen to it again. A great piece of work from Koncept JackSon and Ohbliv. Ohbliv at this point has proved once again that he brings a special flavor to hip-hop production that you simply can't find anywhere else, and Koncept JackSon really solidified his place on my radar as one of the great hip-hop voices in the underground. So if you're feeling the quarantine blues, this album is exactly what you need in your life. So this concludes today's episode of the Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV. I hope this episode gave you some fresh new perspectives on the latest rap releases, as well as a recommendation for the next great rap record to add to your collection. But now that I've spoken, it's your turn to have your voice heard. So let's stay in touch. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Rohview, ROHVIEW, to connect with me on a personal level, where you'll be able to interact with my thoughts and perspectives on music, surely, but also on politics and sports as well. If you're an artist who wants to get their new song or album reviewed on the show, hit me up via email at qlctv.podcast@gmail.com or just send me a DM on Twitter or Instagram. I would love to give you public feedback through a review or private feedback if that's what you'd prefer. I would love to be a part of helping you grow as an artist, to help the show grow and ensure that everyone's listening to the best rap music at all times. Make sure you leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts so that the show can be spotlighted by that wonderful algorithm and be exposed to more people. For exclusive content and updates related to the show, follow the Rap Music Plug podcast on Facebook. You can find all of this information along with exclusive playlists created by myself by clicking the link that's in the episode's notes. So that's all for today. Talk to you soon. Peace.